Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to showcase a very questionable build. Questionable in the terms of how much currency did that cost, and also like kind of weird and questionable in the amount of power this character can deliver if you have certain shiny mirrors and a lot of other divines on this build. What I'm talking about is the original Sin, which is the new ring that is from the Sanctum League if you do a no-hit run, combined with an old archetype called the Strength Stacking character. So what we are doing is not only the classical strength stacking with the Alrund's Warpath, but what this ring does is actually it converts all the elemental damage into chaos damage, so we can take multiple sources of added damage. For example, I have here a synthesized wand with the 2 to 4 fire damage to attacks with this weapon per 10 strength. This was not possible before because what Alrund's Warpath say cannot deal non-chaos damage, okay? But since this ring converts all the ally damage into chaos, we can stack the damage here as well. And this modifier with the 2 to 4 fire damage to attacks or 2 to 3 does also exist on a relic that I sadly do not have. But before we talk about anything in specific, how does this build work, how is everything put together, we're just gonna do the end boss of the Sanctum, so you can see if this boss is able to do bosses. Then we can run like 1 or 2 maps, and then we're gonna talk about in detail how is this build put together, why does it deal so much damage, and so on. So we're gonna activate this, we're gonna activate that, and this was the boss in the first state. We can just basically just run through. Tank everything. So stage number 2, activate some stuff. And she's dead. This is perfect. Now we do the Uber version. You know, the once you do like a boss 83, she turns into this thingy. We get a relic. That one. Okay, this is a better showcase for bosses. And she's dead, so this is... I think this build is cheating. Like, even my version has only a fraction... Oh, what is this? My version has only a fraction of the damage what I actually came up with in PoB. But what you're looking at right now is, I would say, about 250 million DPS in the current state. And I'm also going to show you my end version PoB that is kind of unrealistic. It is realistic, it is a legit PoB, okay? You can build this if you want to. But some of these items are maybe a little bit too perfect and too out of reach. But going up to like 1.3 billion DPS. So yeah, what you do is basically a wonder. So we have like Kinetic Blast, right? And then you just do Shield Charge, Kinetic Blast, Shield Charge, Kinetic Blast, Shield Charge, Kinetic Blast, and just everything dies. And yeah, it's a very, as I said, like weird build, questionable build. I think we're gonna next run going. I personally think this might be the strongest build that you can play in this league. Specifically in this league, I don't know if this ring will survive, and the options that you have with this, like converting ally damage into chaos, lets you basically play any build that you want as a poison build, or do like multi-conversion stuff like this character does. And yeah, this definitely one of the more interesting builds, but it's also like super boring because whatever you do is just dying instantly. It's actually crazy. But yeah, mapping super fast, super speedy. Tankiness, okay, I would say we are res capped, we're chaos res capped, we have chance to block spell damage, attack damage block capped, like a bit of armor, like 20k, but we also have like 6k life, so it is. With damage reduction, it's not the tankiest build, but also not the squishiest. But honestly, with that kind of DPS, when everything dies in the first frame or in 2 frames, you don't really need to tank anything anyways. So, I would say, how do we start this entire thing? Or let's do a Minotaur run, just to do that one as well. So we have another map showcase. I do think I have some Guardians. Basically another map showcase, just run through, dash through, kill everything, and maybe kill Minotaur before he actually starts his weird Bora ability, right? It just like I don't like shield charge. The problem with shield charge is there is always like pebbles and rocks and whatever, so usually I just want to like hold down the button and have fun, but there's always something happening. Really fucking annoying. It's not even that easy to maneuver this character with that amount of speed once you hit the berserk button and stuff. But yeah, let's just try to not get stuck too much. I'm literally just like tech targeting like shield charge, kinetic blast, shield charge, kinetic blast. Just try to like the double button press through the map. But this is so ridiculous. I have so much damage on my KB that I'm running a full clear setup. I think I have one single support gem for damage, and the rest is just like to enhance the clearing aspect. So we go over here, we do these, we do these. That was fucking KB. I was like, let me actually shoot KB one time so we get rid of the monsters, so then I can actually kill the Minotaur. But apparently, he just died with my clearing skill. Yeah, okay, so now you basically see what this build is capable of doing when it comes to the damage aspect. Okay, how do we start this entire project? I would say, first of all, we're gonna throw everything that I have here in my dump tab, so we actually have some space to explain. And it all starts off like strength stacking itself is an older archetype. It used to be not that favorable, especially not since the league where we had these recombinators where you can get extra stat modifiers on your boots like in-stacking, deck stacking, and so on. But all of that got nerfed, and but there is one thing: the Albaran's Warpath was never an item that got created based on the league mechanic. So besides Dex and the in-stacking getting nerfed while losing the boot mod, you still have the Replica Albarans as a unique item from Heist League that still works the same way. And what it does is basically just give you a shit ton of flat added chaos damage to attacks per 80 strength. So this is basically the core of the strength stacking. So now we know, okay, we get a lot of flat chaos damage. So how do we scale this even further? So basically, when you are strength stacking, if you mouse over strength, I currently have like 2,500, it says per 5 strength, you get 1% melee physical damage. And when we are using the Iron Fortress chest, next to giving us chance to block attack damage per 50 strength, that's why I'm actually block capped, 120 strength, but we also get strength bonus in Stangrad's 3% melee damage. So this basically triples our initial melee damage. Now you were wondering probably, wait a second, you are a melee character, why, like you're scaling melee damage and you're a wonder, how does this even work, right? And this is, was it the Battle Mage's Cry that gives you this spell damage? Yeah, okay, so, now, we have Iron Will. What Iron Will does is your strength damage bonus applies to all spell damage as well. So not only melee damage, it also applies to spell damage. Now, with this Iron Will Keystone. And now you're wondering, yeah, this is spell damage, you're still doing an attack, so how does that work? And the keyword here is the Battle Mage's Cry, which says, the buff makes increases and reductions to spell damage also apply to attacks for at 25% of their value per 5 power up to a maximum of 150. That means that we're gonna get melee damage through strength, tripling that, turning that into spell damage, and with the Battle Mage's Cry, we're turning that into attack damage instead of only melee damage. So this basically means with the way of doing that, we're getting ridiculous amounts of spell damage. In my config here on the perfect PoB, we're looking at round about 3,732% increased damage from both attack, spell damage, all these kind of sources. And now comes the interesting part with the original sin, which says all nearby, like all elemental damage converted to chaos damage, means that now I can use something like a synthesized weapon or a claw with a, I think it was a warlord modifier or something, which also gives me fire damage to attacks per 10 strength. So not only do we have the Albarans to stack flat damage, we also have now more sources with, for example, a relic works as well, that you want to have in the end version, right? But I don't have it, so that feels bad. But you're generating a shit ton of fire damage and chaos damage, and it doesn't work since Albaran's Warpath say cannot deal non-chaos damage. But thanks to the ring, these kind of things stack on top of that. So we can generate a shit ton of flat damage, a shit ton of percent generic damage, and then at the end of the day, we're just gonna start stacking some crit and crit multi to get insane amounts of damage. But not only that, we're not done. What else can we do once we're starting to stack strength? And this is an old friend of mine. Maybe somebody knows that from the accuracy stacking days. We're getting the Forbidden Flame Flash combination with Undeniable. Gives me a shit ton of accuracy, which is nice since I'm a Wanda character. That means it's an attack-based build. But we also gain increased attack speed per 150 accuracy, and we gain accuracy equal to twice than our strength. So basically having 2,500 strength gives me a 5,000 accuracy, and from the accuracy I get a shit ton of attack speed. And then there is an elevated modifier on our helmet which says increase critical strike chance per 10 strength and gain accuracy equal to your strength as well. So we're getting a shit ton of accuracy now from our initial strength stacking that already does all the flat damage and the increased damage and blah blah blah, all of these good things. But now we're actually getting like almost crit capped based on our strength stacking and accuracy stacking as well, basically. So if we take a look at the tree, how does this look like? Well, we are Berserk, we have the Blitz charges, we allocate the undeniable things to the Forbidden Flame Flash, and then we're just gonna, yeah, make it a pretty nice strength layout, more or less, with all the strength nodes that we can take. We are focused around 3 large cluster jewels with 12 passive that give strength, all attributes, life, and increased effect. So every single node here gives me 4 attributes, 13 spell damage, 13 life, and 10 strength. So we want to fill up this cluster entirely because this is our biggest big damage. And here I'm missing like some more points and everything, but you want to run 3 of those and then basically adjust your build, actually skipping some life and more things to get even more damage. But at some point, you know, when you have so much damage, you could also play a build like that with like 10,000 damage and only have half the damage, and this will still be enough to kill any boss in like within a couple of frames. It's just that ridiculous. Other than that, we are using, if we take a look at the jewels, as I said, Forbidden Flame Flash. Here I'm having a Thread of Hope as a temporary solution to gain the Iron Will. Don't forget, you can allocate or anoint a keystone on your relic. This could be an Iron Will, this could be Point Blank. It could also be Mage Bane if you decide to go with a more spell suppression route, because we are attribute stacking, not only strength, we also have a lot of intelligence and dexterity if we want to. And that would basically enable, if you take something like strength, dexterity, you can get up to like 600-700 dexterity, and therefore like 40% or something spell suppression with Mage Bane. And if we take something like a Mage Blood with a Quartz Flask, you're almost getting spell suppression capped on that part as well if you want to. You can like play around with the settings if, yeah. Good. Next jewels, let's talk about the Emperor's Might and the Emperor's Mastery. Both of those, and there is more Emperor's jewels. I think this is like a very, 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 very rare drop coming from the Uber Labyrinth, something like that. Don't ask me. It used to be the price per day for the fastest lap finish. I don't know if this is still the thing. This is just unrealistic. But I think they are actually nowadays global drop, but super, super rare from the endgame chests. And they basically give you also character size, increased damage, increased strength, and the Emperor's Mastery with all attributes. But they are also coming for a certain price. Here's like 60 to 70 divines on that jewel, and the other one is cheaper because it's a strength one. So that's like 17 divines or something. Then over here I'm running split personalities. Now you probably understand why my tree looks like that. What split personality does is it gives you strength, intelligence, strength, accuracy, strength, life, whatever you want, based on how many nodes is between the split personality to the start of your character. And this is signalized by this darker orange line. So the further it goes, the better. So if I would connect over here, it would give me a lot less stats. But that's why I build around over here and try to take the longest path while taking all the strength nodes and stuff that I can find. Then I have here some Lethal Pride with percent strength. What else do I have? Reduced extra damage from critical strikes, double damage over here, reduced damage from critical strikes, more strength, here double damage, and here double damage. So this is just like a generic damage, percent strength, kind of Lethal Pride. Over here we convert the dexterity into strength. Other than that, more accuracy, stun immunity, and yeah, that's pretty much it from this side. Based on the gearing, what is necessary? I mean, honestly, I don't even want to talk about things that are cheap for this build, because, you know, Mage Blood is actually almost necessary, because I need an all resistance flask, because without that, it's gonna be very, very hard with the amount of uniques, because think about it. This is unique, this unique, with Amulet unique, the shield unique, the ring unique. So basically, the wand, we're not gonna fix resistances with that. So you have like the helmet, but every suffix that you spend for resistance is less strength, because you want to have strength on your items as well, right? And the gloves are kind of like an 8-link gloves, for example, so you don't really have the suffixes here either to fix your resistance. And you don't really want to spend all your passive points that will give you strength just for all resistance, right? So it's very, very rough, so I definitely recommend the Mage Blood, but thinking about that this build was already over 1,000 divines or even 1,500 divines, I cannot remember. It was a lot of currency that I already spent on this character. Then actually a Mage, but for like 270 divines is actually, you know, if you have that much currency to make a build like that probably it's not gonna fail on not having a Mage Blood, if I'm honest, right? Other than that, this is just like my power siphon for my single target. In my chest I have a 6-link Kinetic Blast. This has a pure single like AoE setup, so we do have an increased crit damage, but then we have GMP helping the clear, we have Fork, we have Void Manipulation, and we have Chain. So we are having all of that, and the Divergent Kinetic Blast also is the alternate quality that projectiles gain 30% increased AoE after forking, and with Awakened Fork, it's just insane when it comes to the clearing aspect. Auras, we were running Purity of Elements, Determination, and Precision. Then we have like this spear. Oh, this is something I could actually explain. So this spear is giving 30 negative chaos rest to the enemy. This does not work with the original Sin Ring. The ring says a nearby enemy's chaos resistance is 0, okay? You cannot lower that. That's why I'm also not running any double influenced helmet with nearby enemies have negative chaos resistance, because it doesn't work. So now you might wonder, why do you still run this spear? And the reason is because I'm using one of this new jewel, which is the Balance of Terror. Immune to curses if you cast this spear in the past 10 seconds, and most importantly, inflict withered for 2 seconds on hit if you've cast this spear in the past second recently. So my despair is not here to actually curse the enemy, because this wouldn't have any effect, but as soon as I use this spear, I'm curse immune now for the next 10 seconds, as well as inflicting wither. And wither is doing some beautiful thing, which is the enemy take 6% increased chaos damage up to 15 stacks, okay? So basically, this thing lets the enemy take more chaos damage, and my pure build is chaos damage. So this enables me, with this fast attack speed that I have, that every attack is actually applying a wither stack. And if you check the damage difference, like this, the perfect PoB with 1.3 billion damage. So if I just disable that, we're dropping half of our damage if we are not applying wither. So wither is a must-have for a big damage. And with this, like before the boss, 1 click for this spear and put on Berserk and just fucking annihilate, just send this boss just to another game, basically. This is the amount of damage we're getting here. So one thing here in the config, you see here, adds 2 to 3 fire damage. This is the relic, okay? And since we can anoint the relic with a keystone with these new modifiers, I've done this once here on my sanctified relics. Here is point blank, for example, right? So that's why I have it here in the config. This should be your relic, okay? If you don't have the strength stacking, you're missing out on like 300 million DPS. You would still crack over 1 billion. So it is a nice damage increase, but it is not necessary by any means. I personally don't even have it myself. But the thing is, Iron Will is very important. Check the damage. If I remove Iron Will, this is the one that converts my spell damage into the attack damage. I remove this Iron Will and I drop down to 500 mil. So this is like mandatory in my current version. I basically got this one for now with the Thread of Hope. Good. Other than that, what is next that I could explain about the build that you cannot find out in the path of building? I think nothing too much. All of the gear here is self-crafted. That's why it's not perfect, but it is what it is. I think that basically rounds up the video, honestly, because I think I explained quite well how all of the strength stacking works with the accuracy stacking in between, how all these like damage modifications, where do we get so much damage and how does it work. up to a point on explaining the gear as good as I can, and now I think it's up to you to make it maybe even crazy. I'm gonna leave you with my current version, which is the, what, about 250 million DPS. It is this one here. So this is my current version with 260 mil DPS, as well as I'm gonna link you the perfect PoB that I've came up with. If somebody says, yo, 250 mil is just not enough, I want to have the billion damage, I want to be the biggest D on PoE Ninja, so I'm gonna give you guys this one as well. Maybe you can find even better ways to do it. Oh yeah, MTX, that's what we're gonna cover real quick, because this is the question that I get anyways all the time. This is the Marauder body armor, which scales with the amount of strength that you have. I think 1500 is the maximum where your tattoos and everything starts glowing. Then we have some Ricardo Flick cosplay with a red pirate banana, some worm weapon that you cannot barely see because it's just a big man with a small wand. The rest is just disabled, we are naked, with some astral character effect, as well as the, yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty boring, and this is the Celestial Kinetic Blast and Celestial Power Siphon thingy. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess, for this kind of build, for this kind of showcase. I think, honestly, besides being completely stupid of a build, I think this is completely nuts, completely ridiculous. I don't think that there is any build that could do more damage than this. Maybe an accuracy stacker with multi-mirror gear, but I think, as I said, there is many other things that you what you can do with this build, with this ring as well. But I think based on sheer damage output and synergy in a build, I think this is probably peak PoE performance. And if you're up to trying to do this build, then make sure you have well over 1,000 divines. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.